This is Paul.
And this is Rabbi Doug.
Stay tuned
for Taped with Rabbi Doug next.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're going to see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you could be with us today. My guest today is a dear friend for so many years and piano virtuoso, Mr. Eric Sutz. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thanks, man.
So glad for you to be with us today. You have been playing piano since you were how old?
Oh, gosh, probably around 7 or 8.
7 or 8 years old. Now, you are such a multifaceted person. First of all, you grew up going to Jewish day schools. You went to Ida Crown Jewish Academy. You have a background in obviously Hebrew and English, and your professional expertise in piano is unbelievable. You started teaching also at a young age, really. How old were you the first time you actually started working with someone on piano?
I think I was really starting to teach it really right about age 20.
Yeah, but while you were still in college and stuff.
Right.
And you were teaching, and you were also doing gigs at that time. Isn't that true? You were also playing live music and sitting in with groups of people, right?
Right. I'd say I probably started playing professionally when I was 18 years old, 17 years old. So
It's really amazing. And obviously you and I have known each other since we were very young, and I'm so glad to have you on because I wanted to have you on. I've never had really an expert jazz pianist on the show before, and not only I know you play more than jazz, but really you are an expert at jazz, and not only that, you're an expert at teaching piano and very professional. I know you teach almost 100 students a year, don't you?
Well, I've had some pretty high numbers, but I try not to do that anymore. It gets to be a little insane. It gets to be a little overwhelming, and of course I don't have as much time to then practice or work on my own material. But there were some times between playing gigs and between teaching and doing some arranging and other things that it was a lot of work.
Now, you also play guitar, I know. Are there other instruments that you play besides piano and guitar?
No, I think that piano has been more than enough. One would actually look at it and think that perhaps the keyboards, would be in a sort of a sense a separate instrument because keyboards, it's almost like comparing and saying that, well, you type, but then there's a computer, and you can't compare a computer to an old typewriter. And in many ways, the keyboards that have developed over these years are so sophisticated that it's almost like learning, a brand new language. Yes, you have the keys, but literally the language, if you want to learn how to program them, if you want to try to use them to your best effect.
Even the feel. The
feel is very, very different, and they each in a sort of a way, even though they're electric instruments, they each in a sort of a way have their own temperament.
Tell me about this piano. Now, in all these years, you've preferred to stay with an upright piano like this. What kind of piano is this? What brand is it? What makes it the type of piano that you want to have in your home to practice with and arrange with?
Well, that's a good question. It's this is actually a small Japanese company that's made this piano. It's called Tadashi, and I don't even believe that they're in business anymore. There's small piano manufacturers. People might think of the larger names like Yamaha or Kawai from the Japanese manufacturers. But like everything else in life, we also have the smaller manufacturers too. And Tadashi is one of the smaller manufacturers. I was very, very fortunate to find this piano. It's a full upright, and actually a full upright, as many people know, it has very long strings, and the strings are as long as a number of baby grands. So it offers a very, very big sound. It's a huge sound, for this type of piano, and it has a nice heavy action that you can kind of dig into. So it's been a great piano for all these years.
Wonderful. Well, teach me a little bit, and that's really why I want to have you on the show. And I want our audience to know that I said to you, Eric, why don't you come into the TV studio and bring an electric keyboard? And you said, it won't do justice to what you want to do on the show. Tell us a little bit about the different styles of music that you play, and for our piano fans and music fans, the different styles of the professionals that they might recognize and their works.
Well, one of the things that I try to do if I'm doing a program of this for kids, or when I start out teaching students this type of different, let's say, styles, what we almost call American styles of music, because everybody's familiar with very European styles from Bach and Beethoven and Chopin, but not so many people are adept at playing more of the really well-known American styles. When I say well-known, people might not know the name, but they'll know the sound. So if you're doing something like this, what would be considered a fairly simple style. This is called the Texas Boogie, and it is prevalent or well known because of this sort of style. And a lot of kids, they love to learn that type of thing. A lot of people, they've heard this. People hear this type of style.
It's certainly familiar. If you play that, I say, of course I know that.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of songs that will come from that, and this this particular type of a bass line will be used in a lot of different types of music. So that's why I say this would be kind of a Texas Boogie sort of style. From that, you start to develop other types of boogies that will be, again, more common. Very similar, right? There wasn't that much difference in the right hand, but this sort of feel, say, it has kind of a shuffle feel, and this was just huge in American music in the 20s and the 30s, and especially during the whole boogie woogie era, people doing these types of things, and it was just hugely influential, especially on guitarists. So many of the early guitarists were enormously influenced by this particular style. So it was hugely influential in pop music and American music, pop music and rock and blues. It's just enormous. So.
Very cool, very cool. What is a title of a famous song that you would come up with if I was to ask you that will fall under that category?
Well, there's a few different ones. There's a gentleman I mentioned to you before we started the show that by the name of James Yancey, and I can play a little bit of his music, and again, it's something that'll sound kind of familiar, and I'll describe it, and maybe you'll kind of recognize it or not.
Eric Sutz with some James Yancey right here on Tape with Rabbi Doug.
Yancey's Blues, and it doesn't seem like a very fancy name, but this was like enormously influential. This young man was actually a dance prodigy. So during the vaudeville days, he was very young. He was only like 8 or 9 years old, and he was such a great dancer that he was actually invited to go on a tour, which ended up being a worldwide tour. And he performed all through Europe, all through the States. He performed, by the time he got back to the States, he was a very wealthy young man, and he had kind of conquered that world, as it were. And he ended up starting to gain a great interest in piano. And he led a very, very interesting life. He lived in the south side of Chicago. So a great trivia question is that, who was the very famous blues pianist who was a groundskeeper at Comiskey Park? And it was James Yancey. So, his style was very prevalent for this idea. What happens with this sort of thing, and what I'll try to teach and explain if I'm doing some seminars or programs on this, is that really it's more so the left hand that makes a difference in these types of styles. Mm-hmm. So in Albert Hammond's if I want to try to trip up my, my very heavily classical orientated friends, I try to get this type of thing, and they're going, "What the heck is that?" So it can be a little challenging to do, and it can be a little bit tricky, especially as I'm warming up my fingers right now. But it's definitely a tricky pattern. So it will again come down to if people start to recognize the difference between some of these left-hand styles. They'll go a long way, I think, towards gaining even more appreciation with this type of music.
Very nice, very nice. You play lots of different kinds of music, obviously. What is your favorite?
Well, probably, I'd actually have to say probably a New Orleans, kind of a more Cajun style.
Can we hear something?
Sure, absolutely. This is a piece called the Louisiana Lullaby.
Louisiana Lullaby, Eric Sutz on TAPED. Piano bars and stuff like that. People come up to you and they say, I really want to hear, a piano bar player type guy like you play something. What do people request? What do they request?
Well, it's been a long time since I've done that. But Usually it would kind of be the same sorts of songs. They'd want to hear the standards that musicians don't want to play because they've already played them thousands of times. They want to hear Misty. They want to hear Satin Doll. They want to hear All Me. They want to hear Over the Rainbow.
Are there any of those standards per se that you used to play all the time that you still every once in a while want to just pull out on the keyboard, or are you just out of that completely?
Well, no, there's some there are nice songs. A song like an Over the Rainbow or something. I mean, this is such a classic tune, and there's so many different ways of doing a song like that that it still is enjoyable to play. For instance.
Music taped with Rabbi Doug.
How does a person learn timing? Is it really just practice?
Well, I think...
Is it a metronome? What is it?
Well, the metronome is hugely important, and listening to other artists, whether you're listening to them on a CD or DVD, cassette, listening to people is very, very important. The metronome is a great help. And again, today, you have the ability to use technology that simply did not exist when I was young. I don't know about you, probably not when you were young, but when I was young, it didn't exist. And that is, the drum machines, the different types of rhythm units that are on keyboards today. It's absolutely remarkable what you can do. So it's dramatically important to do something, especially if you're playing any sort of solo piano. It's dramatically important to have something to help you with your time and to hear that in your head. So, but yes, it's very, very hard. That's one of the things, as a pianist, is that yes, your left hand has to, kind of carry the show. And it takes.
And when you're right-handed, it's not easy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, we'd love to hear you do like a concert piece that you would do if you were on stage right now playing for a group. What would you like to do for us?
Oh God, concert pieces.
Pick something. I don't mean concert like in concert. I mean if you're performing and someone says play one of your favorite pieces, something you haven't played for us. What would you do for us?
Well, I'll tell you what. Just because I've enjoyed this style and I've been playing this style a lot, let me try another New Orleans thing. This one's called Frankie and Johnny. Some of these pieces, these New Orleans pianists don't like to play in really fancy keys, so they try to keep it in F and G and in C. So for our viewing audience to say, I'm going to play in simple keys. That's it. No hard keys around here. So we'll see how this works out.
All right, Eric Sutz on Taped with Rabbi Doug. We're on Tape with Rabbi Doug with Eric Sutz, who is a wonderful piano player, as you can see, and we'll be right back.
I'm Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary, sometimes known as Puff the Magic Dragon, and I'm hiding the great face of Rabbi Doug. Watch him. Rabbi Doug. It's a wonderful show.
All right, we're back here on Tape with Rabbi Doug. I'm here with Eric Sutz. Eric, this has been so much fun. You're so great. What are you going to play for us now?
You know, I thought I'll try to delve into the realm of all the jazz greats that are around in the Chicagoland area, and I'll do a Stella by Starlight. There's wonderful, wonderful musicians and great, great pianists in the Chicagoland area, and I just encourage people to go out and try to catch them. They deserve the listening and the recognition. So all right, we'll see where it goes.
Eric Sutz on Tape with Rabbi Doug.
Hi, I'm Governor Rod Blagojevich, and you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug on Mensch.
How long have you been fascinated with turtles? I know you have live turtles in the room with us while you're playing. It seems like they're dancing to the music here. And this guy here. How long have you been raising turtles?
Oh, God. Well, I can't claim any credit for that. This is probably my sister's craziness, because ever since we had turtles, she would be giving us these turtle presents. So, you know, it's turned into a turtle boutique. So I wish I could claim responsibility for that. But it's one of those things when you're kids, you know, you have pets, and, well, there you go.
You have pet turtles.
They have pet turtles,
and
that's it.
You enjoy them, though? You enjoy raising them?
Oh, they're a lot of fun. They have much more personality than what people would think.
Very nice, very nice. This is cute, and it almost looks real. If you didn't know, seeing the real turtles here, you'd almost think this is real. You're just amazing. I've enjoyed this so much because, like I said to our viewers earlier, I've wanted to have you on the show for so long, and your piano sounds so wonderful. How often do you have to tune it? Because you practice every day.
Yeah. Well, we try to get it tuned between 2 to 3 times a year, and I'm usually pretty finicky about that. So if it starts to go out of tune, I try to get on it right away. I can't take it too much once it starts to really go. So.
Is there a type of piano you prefer to play when you're on stage? Do you prefer a grand piano, a baby grand piano, an upright like this, a full-size upright? Is there something you prefer to play, or doesn't it really matter as long as it has good sound?
Well, I think the sound of it, I mean, you can find some small pianos that are pretty beat up that still have a pretty nice sound, but I prefer grands. I always, do in a general sense if they have if there's a nice Steinway, and when you're professional, you end up pretty much having to play whatever is available at times. And but if I had my pick, I would probably go with a Steinway or perhaps a Kawai Grand. If you're lucky enough to get a Bosendorfer, which I think is about a $70,000 piano, maybe that would be nice too.
Yeah. Where are your favorite places that you've played? I know you've played on stage in different clubs and different venues. What's your favorite type of place, or favorite place if you have one?
Well, the problem with some of that right now is just that a lot of these places don't exist, which it's now, again, showing my age, but because many of the clubs on Lincoln Avenue that I used to play at no longer have the same names, and now they're just different owners, and they closed up, and now I think they're converted into condominiums. So they don't exist. But I played, the venues that I played have been really quite extreme. But I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that some of the most fun or most interesting places I played was when I was over in Europe, and I had gone on a couple of different tours with some singers and some choir groups, and also done some solo work as a pianist. And it's something when you can play along the coast of Spain and kind of look out and you see the water and the You know, the patrons are enjoying it. Or in Greece, one man had me play at his restaurant, and I played a few numbers, and he was so overjoyed he kept filling up the glasses for everybody. He says, you can't leave. So that was quite an adventure, too.
Very nice. So you enjoy touring and playing around different places.
Absolutely. It was
nice.
a lot of fun. It's a lot of
Very
fun.
nice. Do you still sit down, and I know you do a lot of arranging, do you still sit down and write music, or are you just so busy with your teaching that that's kind of put aside right now?
Yeah, it's. I used to do much more of it, but again, you're right. It's hard to do everything. It's hard to be on top of everything. So it's harder for me to be on top of my own original material and doing more writing and more arranging, which is something that I miss that I want to come back to. But it's very, very difficult. You'll notice that those that perform quite a bit, they don't really teach very much. They might have some students or may have some outlets where they're teaching perhaps in the university for a day or two, but in a general sense, you know, those that are performing, you have to take the time to be practicing or performing. Those, you know, some of the great pianists that are out there, they might not practice as much, but that's because they might be playing 3 or 4 nights a week and playing for 3 or 4 hours. So you get a lot of time in that way.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been just a pleasure to have you on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Sutz, just a wonderful teacher, pianist, and a very good friend. And may I invite you to come on the show again in the future?
Absolutely. If you're listening, the audience will have me, sure.
They're viewing and listening, and I hope they will. And so, what will you close us off with today?
Oh, gosh, you know, how about a nice down-home Chicago side blues? How about that?
That sounds great. All right, bye-bye, everybody. Eric Sutz here. Remember, check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, to find out more about Eric Sutz and our show. You can email me, info@tvrabbi.com, if you want to get a hold of Eric, and I'll give you his information. Thanks a lot, Eric Sutz. Thank you for being with us. Remember, on every week this time, hope to see you next time on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Eric Sutz, once again, here on Taped.